Let us discuss the female reproductive system. Now, when discussing this, I'm going to focus on the following structures: the ovaries, the fallopian tube, which is also known as the oviduct, the uterus, the cervix, vagina, and a little bit about the vulva. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss the structure of each of these and the role they play. So let us start with the ovaries. Now, ovaries are two organs. These are cream in color and oval in shape. They typically measure about 3 to 4 centimeters in length. Now, females have two of these lying on either side of the pelvic cavity. So the ovaries are attached to the uterus by a set of membranes. These membranes ensure that the ovaries are kept in position. We also have two blood vessels that transport blood to and from the ovaries. Remember, the ovaries are organs, therefore they consist of cells. These cells require oxygen and nutrients, and they also produce waste products that need to be removed. And this is where the ovarian artery and the ovarian vein come in. So the ovarian artery supplies blood to the ovary. This is going to be blood rich in oxygen and nutrients. Ovarian vein takes away blood from the ovary that consists of waste products. So what is the function of the ovaries? The ovaries have two main functions. Number one is that they produce the female gametes, which are known as the ova. These are produced through a process known as oogenesis. The second function is that they produce hormones, specifically progesterone and estrogen. Our next structure is the fallopian tube. Now, this is where fertilization takes place. So fertilization is the fusion of the male and female gamete. So what is meant by this is that the sperm cell and the egg cell fuse or join together in the fallopian tube. So this is where they meet each other. Now the egg, once released from the ovary, passes through the fallopian tube on its way to the uterus. Now if you look at the fallopian tube, you'll notice that number one, it's tube-like, and that at the end of its opening, it's funnel shaped. Now this is important because this shape allows it to collect the egg that is being released by the ovary. So as mentioned before, the fallopian tube facilitates the movement of the egg towards the uterus. Now this is helped by the following structures. Number one is that the wall of the fallopian tube has smooth muscles. These muscles contract and relax to generate a force that pushes the egg towards the uterus. Number two is that they have cilia, that is the lining of the fallopian tube. So cilia are these tiny hair-like structures that beat in a whip-like motion. Now this movement wafts the egg cell towards the uterus. The last one is that the fallopian tube contains goblet cells. So goblet cells are specialized cells that secrete mucus. So the mucus lubricates the oviduct, keeping it moist, and also facilitates the easy movement of the egg towards the uterus. So how many adaptations of the fallopian tube have I mentioned so far? If you state 4, then you are paying attention. Let's proceed to the next one, the uterus. Now the uterus is a structure that is sac-like, which contains a thick muscular wall. In females, the size of the uterus is typically about 8 centimeters long and 5 centimeters wide. And yes, you heard me right. Just imagine how small it is. You're probably wondering, okay, how does it manage to accommodate the growing size of the baby? Now the reason is because the walls of the uterus are muscular, so they're capable of expanding to provide enough space for the growing fetus. In fact, the volume of the uterus can increase by about 500 times during pregnancy. How amazing is this? After birth, it can get back to its original size. Now, when it comes to the uterus, the innermost wall of the uterus is the endometrium. So this is where the embryo implants, and it also provides nourishment during the initial stages, before the placenta is developed. Now above the endometrium is where we have the myometrium. This consists of smooth muscles. These muscles are very, very important, especially during childbirth. So what happens is that during labor, the muscles contract to generate a force that expels the fetus out of the uterus and out of the female's body. at the lower end of the uterus is where we have the cervix. So the cervix is a ring of muscles that separates the uterus from the vagina. So it secretes mucus that prevents the entry of microorganisms during pregnancy. So as stated, the cervix is muscular. So it can contract and expand to allow the passage of the baby during birth. Vagina. Now the vagina is a long muscular tube that has muscles, of course, on its walls. This is also known as the birth canal or the copulatory canal. Now the muscles on the walls of the vagina contract and relax during birth in order to release the fetus. At this point, you're probably thinking, everything is contracting and relaxing. Yes, guys, it's a team effort. So the muscular walls of the vagina also bring about contractions that lead to the expulsion of the fetus from the female's body. Now, the external opening of the vagina is called the vulva. Within the vulva, you're going to have glands known as vestibular glands. These glands secrete mucus when a female is sexually aroused. Now, this is very important because it helps in lubricating the vagina during intercourse. The vulva also has an opening from the urethra for the elimination of urine. And that brings us to the end of our discussion of the female reproductive system.